Thanks a lot. What's really come across today, and certainly in my involvement with Venezuela, is this central fact that we shouldn't have a paternal view of what happens around the world. We've got to get it into our heads that we learn from other people. And we've got to drop the old attitudes that we survey the world and make judgments on whether the democratic institutions, etc. What we've got to understand is that we are witnessing in Latin America, right across Latin America, and principally in Venezuela, is the rebirth of socialism in the 21st century. Now just think that. We were told for the last 20 years that the essential ideas that many of us were brought up in and many of us believed in were dead. They're no longer counted. They've been superseded by a whole set of system of economic ideas that were far, far superior. And the essence of that is the neoliberal idea that the market is supreme, the government should have no role in that market other than to support it, and that trade unions are an obstacle to the free working of the market. And those ideas have won, quite frankly, in the last 20 to 30 years. And it's only now, in a time of deep economic capitalist crisis, that people are slowly beginning to question those ideas. And no more is that more brilliantly illustrated by what's happened in Latin America. The first continent to have neoliberalism imposed on it at the point of a bayonet, September the 11th, but not September the 11th, New York, September the 11th, 1973 in Chile. And what's so great about it, comrades, is that that continent is the first that's kicked off neoliberalism, that's kicked off the boot that's been on its neck for all those years. And I think we can gain tremendous pleasure from it. And keep your eyes on that result in Venezuela. I was noting that the Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, has noted that support for Chavez limits the possibility of a change towards more market-friendly policies in the near future. How beautifully put. How beautifully put. And don't ever make a mistake. What is happening in Venezuela has direct implications for us here in Britain. Because if the Americans can overturn, and let's be straight, the squalidos, those people who support the Americans within Venezuela, can overturn Chavez, it will be a huge defeat for the left throughout the world. Yeah. And I remember in my previous, I just told the comrade here, I used to be a member of the NUT for 17 years, and I remember sitting in the staff room, and the school I taught in, a school for the sons and daughters of gentlemen, a finishing school, it was not like that, but I remember listening to the news that the left had been overthrown in Chile, and I remember the cloud that it threw over many of us that day. Now the cloud has lifted, and we must make sure it never ever descends. And it's interesting that Samuel is here today meeting leading trade unionists. Now we've met several today and we've got more to do. And Samuel's asking two things of the trade union movement. Number one, that it keeps a vigilant eye on what's happening in these elections. And when the right wing attempt to claim that they've been fiddled, that the trade unions speak up. But I'll tell you there's an even bigger thing. And this is based upon my experience in Parliament as a Labour MP. By the way, my career was ruined by the fact they invited Chavez into Parliament. After that, I was no chance of a job. But I can live with that. I can live with that. Now, Samuel also mentioned that the Conservative opposition is in Britain right now lobbying Hague. And I've got an awful thing to say. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if they weren't also lobbying new Labour ministers as well. And just think that one through. Because what we want is a trade union movement to say to the Labour Party, here is a country, and as one of the previous commoners has said, is going through its 1945 moment. Yeah. Okay? It is going through, it's reassessing the role of the market, the role of the state. Okay? It's decommodifying education and health. It's giving those things back to people. And surely, even as a basic minimum, the Labour Party should be in solidarity with what's happening in Venezuela. But I've got bad news for you. There is a huge section of the Labour Party, around the group Progress, etc., that sees evil in what is in Venezuela. When I used to speak to Labour ministers, oh, you know the problem with Chavez, don't you? I said, well, he's a populist. And I thought, excuse my French, fucking hell, I wish we were as popular. Okay. This idea that the art of politics is to make yourself unpopular, New Labour did it brilliantly, so we want to listen to it. So what we've got to ask the trade union movement is to feed into the Labour Party, and you've got to do it, those individual members of the Labour Party and your constituencies as well, to create a climate of the politics that we see in Venezuela become our politics in Britain and Europe as well. I was very impressed with the comments that the comrades were saying about Chavez as well. And I just saw this quote. I like to end on a quote, because it makes you think that I've been reading loads of stuff. But it says, and it could be of Chavez here, it says, if your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and become more, you are a leader. Thank God socialism has got a leader in the 21st century, and thank God there's a mass movement behind him. We've got to step up to the plate to defend him. Thank you, comrades.
Audience to know that Colin is expressing, or in my presence expressed, that level of passion and that level of commitment when front-facing the Labour front bench on issues like Colombia. Good luck to you, Colin. And look, you made reference to the bombing of the palace of Allende in 1973 in Chile and the dreadful consequences of that anti-democratic action. That was the thing that switched me as a teenager onto international politics. I don't want my daughter to be more switched on to international politics because of the overthrow of Hugo Chavez's government and the Bolivarian revolution in Venezuela. I think we've got to avoid history repeating itself in that sense.